History is defined by moments, where everything changes in an instant. Welcome to History's Incident Files. Hit subscribe and let's explore the past.
Welcome back to another episode of History Incident Files. If this is your first time, thank you for joining us. I am your digital host, Stephen Franklin. Today, we are taking you back to April 1865 to investigate the deadliest water disaster in American history, the SS Sultana.
Over 2,100 Union soldiers, freshly released from brutal civil, crammed onto a steamboat built for just passengers. And hours after leaving dock, she exploded.
Almost everyone in charge knew the boat was dangerously overloaded, but nobody stopped it. Let's go back to April 1865. Vicksburg, Mississippi, April 24th. The war is over, and thousands of Union soldiers just released from Confederate prison camps are desperate to get home. These men survived Andersonville and Cahaba, two of the worst prison camps of the entire war. Now they just want to see their families. Enter the SS Sultana, a wooden side-wheel steamboat built for luxury passenger travel. But behind her grand appearance lay a deadly secret. Just days before arriving in Memphis, one of the Sultana's 4 tubular boilers developed a dangerous leak and bulged out under high steam pressure.
To avoid losing the lucrative military transport contract, Captain J. Cass Mason refused to replace the ruined boilerplate, ordering a quick patch job instead.
On the night of April 26, 1865, with a patched boiler and over 6 times her legal passenger limit, the boat was destined for disaster. Mechanic Henry Cargyle warned that the boiler was thin, cracked, and unsafe. But instead of replacing the damaged plate, a quick patch was hammered on in under 24 hours to keep the boat moving. The legal limit for the Sultana was 376 passengers, but corrupt officers took cash kickbacks for every single soldier loaded onto this boat. Over 2,100 soldiers were crammed onto these wooden decks. That is 6 times the legal capacity for this vessel.
The extra weight was so bad that the wooden decks were visibly buckling at the seams.
By 2 a.m. on April 27th, the Sultana was pushing hard against the swollen Mississippi River current, 7 miles north of Memphis. And 4 overstressed boilers pushed to maximum pressure. When the Sultana rounded the bend at Marion, Arkansas, the vessel tilted in the river current, causing the water inside the boilers to shift violently. At 2 a.m., boiler number 3 ruptured violently.
The blast tore straight upward through the center of the ship, instantly shattering the hurricane deck.
Within minutes, the entire wooden steamboat was a roaring inferno, drifting downstream in the pitch dark. The blast kills or maims hundreds instantly. Within minutes, fire is racing through the wreckage. Men who survived Confederate prison camps are now jumping into a flooded river in the middle of the night, many unable to swim. The pilot house collapsed into the flames, and the central superstructure caved in within seconds. Massive iron smokestacks fell backward across crowded decks, crushing everything in their path. Men clung desperately to wooden doors, cotton bales, and floating deck wreckage in dark water that was barely 40 degrees. Many had been swept downriver in total darkness. Hundreds succumbed to hypothermia long before help could arrive. At 3 a.m., the southbound steamboat Bostonia II arrived on scene, her crew throwing floating timber and ropes into the dark water to pull survivors aboard.
Local rivercraft and gunboats joined the rescue effort, pulling over 700 freezing men out of the river as dawn approached.
Word finally reaches Memphis when a survivor, a teenage soldier, washes up near the waterfront and raises the alarm. Of roughly 2,137 people aboard, only around 963 survive. That's nearly 1,200 lives lost in a matter of minutes. When the sun rose on April 27, 1865, the grand SS Sultana was gone, burned to the waterline and sunk near Marion, Arkansas. Men who survived Gettysburg, men who survived Andersonville, who survived years of war were killed by a patched boiler a few miles from freedom. So how does the deadliest maritime disaster in U.S. history barely make the news? News of the disaster was quickly overshadowed in northern newspapers by the hunt for John Wilkes Booth following President Abraham Lincoln's assassination. Timing. The war had just ended. Lincoln had just been assassinated, and his assassin was killed the day before the Sultana exploded. An official inquiry followed. It blamed not enough water in the boiler for the explosion. Notice what's missing from that list? The single most obvious factor wasn't even ruled a cause or mentioned. Historians since have connected the dots differently. Overcrowding, exhaustion, and a rushed repair, compounding into catastrophe. Almost nobody was ever held accountable. The war's end meant the machinery of wartime justice had already moved on, and it seemed it was swept under the rug. One striking detail survives in witness accounts. Confederate soldiers along the banks helped rescue the very Union men they'd been fighting weeks earlier. A small moment of humanity, in the middle of one of the war's cruelest postscripts. Today, the wreck itself is believed to be buried under a soybean field. The river has shifted course that much in over 150 years. The Mississippi moved. The disaster site is now dry land, miles from any water. The Sultana disaster killed more people than the Titanic. And yet, for generations, it was a footnote in our history. Which might be part of why so few people know this story exists at all. Today, the Sultana remains the deadliest maritime disaster in United States history, a forgotten tragedy of survival and the final price of the American Civil War. The Sultana proves that the deadliest disasters aren't always the ones we remember. Sometimes they're the ones we have to go looking for. And that's why we bring these forgotten incidents back to life every single week. Next time, we're crossing the pond to 1666 to witness a spark in a bakery that burned the heart of London to the ground. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you so much for sticking with us all the way to the end of this incident. Uncovering these forgotten moments of history and remembering the people who lived through them is why we build these episodes for you. If you don't mind, please hit that like button right up here and hit subscribe right over here to help us bring more of these stories to light.
All official military court records, passenger manifests, and inquiry documents for today's episode are cited in the description below.